Hi, my name's Kathy Millett, and this week I'm going to show you how to fix that awkward mistake, a big gap in your brickwork. So it happened on my brick wall here. I did a really nice brick wall, I put it all together, I weighted it, I put it all there, glued it, and when I came back, I guess because I wasn't pushing sideways with my weights, the foam just left a slight black gap. It's awkward, it really shows up on photos. And you'll quite often have things where you paint things first and then you assemble them and you end up with a joint. Sometimes when you're building buildings you get it. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of that joint without mucking up all the rest of your brickwork. So what do you need to get rid of these unsightly gaps? Well, first up, masking tape. I'm using a normal painter's masking tape. This is frog tape. You can get delicate surfaces ones. If you're worried about it, I'll have a tip in a second to show you how to stop it sticking and pulling all your paint off. You then need a plastic putty. Acrylic plastic putty is what I use to fill the gap. And either you can use, this is Vallejo, or I've got Deluxe perfect plastic putty as well. Whichever one you have to hand. It's not a big gap, so it doesn't need a lot to go in it. You need some paints to touch up. And this is a bit of a problem with mine because obviously I've painted it with loads of different paints. So I'm just going to do something quite delicate and hope that it doesn't show up too much. And then you just need a couple of tools to apply your putty. I just use coffee stirrers and cocktail sticks, sometimes an X-Acto blade, just whatever's around. It's not a huge gap, so it's not really a problem. Okay, so that tip on the masking tape. If you peel masking tape off and you just put it on your model, sometimes it can just be a little bit sticky and it can pull paint off. One way to stop that is to put it on your trousers or your sleeve and it'll pick off little bits of fluff off here. It still sticks, but now it won't pull your paint off. And you just want to put this in place exactly on both sides of your gap, as close as you possibly can and all the way down to the bottom. What you're doing is this is going to block the putty from spreading everywhere else and round. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then one on this side. Two, sometimes an X-Acto blade can help. You see, you're not leaving a lot of space because, quite frankly, there's not a lot of space that needs the plastic putty. So the Vallejo one's a bit softer, so I'm going to use that. And you can apply it with a cocktail stick because it's quite small, and you can just apply it into that hole and it will not go to either side of your onto your brickwork and fill in all those lovely mortar lines you have or ruin the paint job there. Okay, so when that's all filled in, I just peel it off carefully to the side. There we go. And whilst this is still wet, you can see whether you filled your gap, and then a quick run with your finger will fill it in. Now, I obviously didn't quite do that as well as possible, so I'm just going to re-stick these and just do that bottom bit again. There we go. Peel that off. And now I've got my brick. And to make sure it isn't sticking out, I just run my finger up briefly and smooth it off. There we go. So there we go, we've got a super fine bead of putty just where we want it and nowhere else. And that is really hard to do without that masking tape. So next up is painting. Now for me this is really easy. I do videos, so I can go back and I can see exactly what I used. And quite often I have blog posts from further back in time. If you don't have such things, I really recommend that you write down the paints that you have. So stonework, easy. I've repainted it a number of times already with this very similar colour. So I used multiple colours for this. So I picked a colour that I hope is close enough to an average. Looks a bit orange actually. I'm just going to put it on and just get something down to hide that white. Now you could masking tape this again, but I'm going to do it so that it just spreads a little bit sideways, so it's not too bad. And then I just use my finger just to smudge it in a bit. It really stands out still, doesn't it? Touching up is a trick. So I've got a little bit of the whole red to go next. Just a little. And I'm just going to put that into that gap. Now it's worth saying, if this was a larger scale, I would have quite happily scribed a lot of the brick lines back in. Yeah, you see that darker colour just helps. I can go back over that now in a lighter colour. Now I've got that lovely dark colour on it, I need to come back over, I need to come back over with a lighter colour. And actually I think in this instance I'm just going to use some of the deck tan, but thin it a little. Because it's a colour that was mixed in a bit and it will just streak down. So I've still got a bit of the, I just want it as almost a dry brush. I'm just going to streak a little bit. Oops, there we go. This is quite damp. I'm just letting it run down and in. Ha, that looks quite cool. We'll see. Right, so just to touch up that little bit there. And when you're doing this, it's worth checking it from both angles because this wall doesn't actually quite meet up flush. It's just moved slightly. So this is just Tamiya gloss like I used last time. I think I used Tamiya gloss last time. So there we go, all painted up, and you can see what a difference it makes in the photos. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks that I've missed on filling gaps in buildings in the comments below. Other than that, thanks to my patrons as ever, and I'll see you all next time.